All right, today we're going to be talking about summary sets. These are numbers that are used to describe a data set or a list of numbers. Think of them like adjectives for nouns, right? Or a word is describing a word. In this case, we're using numbers to describe other numbers, right? So in this case, right, let's say we have test scores from a recent test the class took, and we want to find out how well they did or describe how well they did as a group or as a whole, right? The first thing we're going to find is the average or the mean, right? You might have also heard this been called the average, right? And so what this number is it tells us, or it's a representative of how the group performed as a group or as a whole. Think of something similar, or a different example might be like if you're about to buy something online and you want to see like how other people feel about it, you'll see the reviews, right? And they'll give it like 1 to 5 stars, right? And so they'll say this item has a 3-star review on average, right? That means out of everybody's opinion or everybody's review, it came out to about 3 stars on average. So the way we find that is we add everything together, one. So let's take 75 plus 75 plus 87 plus 100 plus 92. Add that, so 5 and 5 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 2 is 19, carry the 1. 7 and 7 is 14, plus 8 is 22, plus 9 is 31, carry, or plus the extra 1 is 32. So carry the 3, 3 and 1 is 4, so 429, right? And now that we have that, what we're going to do next is divide it by the number of entries in our list, right? So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So let me move this down a little bit. 429, right? And we're going to divide it by 5 because we have 5 numbers in our list. So 5 goes into 42 8 times, right? So minus 40. Bring that into 2, 9. 5 goes into 29 5 times. Minus 25. 4.0. 5 goes into 48 times. Right. So on average, this class scored a 85.8 on the test they were given, right? So when the teacher is maybe bragging to the other classes or to some of her peers, like, yeah, my class did really well. They scored an 85.8 on average, right? So although you have students that scored more, have students scored less, this number is representative on how the class did as a whole. All right, so let's clear that out and talk about our next summary stat. Let's get a pen. 85.8. Next summary stat we're going to talk about is the median, right? Or our middle number, right? And although admittedly, I can't think of a time where that's really used outside of, maybe if you're doing more math later. But if you're using it to describe or in like an example, I can't really think of one. But what this does is essentially tells us where the middle of our data set is. Think of like if you're driving on the road, you got the median in the road. It's like that, right? Our middle number. And so the quickest and the easiest way I learned how to do this is to simply write down the numbers in order, right? And then simply cross out the first one, cross out the last one, next one, and that gives us our median, right? So the middle number of these test scores, or the number that's in the middle of the test scores, is 87, right? So the next summary stat we're going to talk about is the mode. And what the mode is, it's the number that appears the most, right? So in this case, you'd be like, okay, well, although our students on average scored 85.8, the test score that appeared the most was yada, 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 right? Or maybe if we relate it back to the reviews, we can say, although they reviewed, they got 3.4 stars or whatever the case may be, right? The review that appeared the most was 2-star reviews, right? Something like that, right? That it tells us how which number or which data point appears the most often, right? So if you look at this data set, the number that appears most often for us is 75, right? So like I was saying, the teacher may say, like on average, the class scored an 85.8, but the score that most people got was a 75. So, okay. And the last thing we're going to talk about is the range, right? What the range is, it tells us the spread of the data set or how far our lowest to our highest is, right? So think of like related to reviews, right? They might have it on average a 4-star review. They might mainly have 2-star reviews, but the reviews themselves range from 1 to 4 stars, right? Or something like that, right? It tells us how far our data points go. In this case, the way we're going to find it is we're going to take the number, our highest number, in this case, 100. And from that, we're going to subtract our lowest number, in this case, a 75. Right? So we do all the borrowing, right? So that's 0, that becomes a 9, 10, so 5, 25, right? So the range here is 25. But the way the teacher might describe it in this scenario, she, or they might say, the scores range between 75 and 100, right? It tells us our lowest, our highest, and how far or how spread out our numbers are. All right, so this is our intro into summary stats, which are once again just numbers we use to describe a bigger list of numbers. Thank you.